12 brutal Stoic lessons that will rewire your mind. Sculpted Grace. Hook plus intro. We live in a world that constantly whispers lies into our ears. It tells us we need others to validate our dreams, approve our choices, and walk us through every challenge. Society convinces us that solitude is loneliness, that walking alone means we've somehow failed, and that if no one claps for us, our success doesn't matter. But what if I told you that history's greatest warriors, men and women who conquered not only battlefields but life itself, discovered their true power only when they learned to stand completely alone? Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor who ruled Rome, once wrote, "Very little is needed to make a happy life, it is all within yourself, in your way of thinking." Here was a man surrounded by servants, advisors, soldiers, and senators, yet he understood that real strength is not found in numbers. It comes from within, from the ability to face yourself without distraction, without the noise of other people's opinions drowning out your inner voice. Think about it: every breakthrough in your life happened not when you begged for permission, but when you finally chose to walk your own path. Every moment of true growth came when you faced fear alone, when you decided that your vision mattered more than the approval of others. The Stoic warrior doesn't reject people. They don't walk alone because they despise connection. They walk alone because they know the deepest connection with others is only possible after first connecting with themselves. They are not cold. They are not detached. They are deeply rooted in their values, unshakable in their purpose, and free to give from a place of abundance rather than need. When you master the art of walking alone, you don't become lonely. You become free. Free from the exhausting game of validation. Free from the prison of others' expectations. Free to live, love, and serve authentically. Today on Sculpted Grace, we're going to explore 12 Stoic lessons that will rewire your mind and make you mentally unbreakable. Each principle builds on the last, so don't skip ahead. By the end of this journey, you'll walk away with the blueprint to build inner strength so powerful, nothing can shake you. Drop this affirmation in the comments: I walk alone. I rise alone. I win alone. Lesson 1: Embrace sacred solitude. The first Stoic lesson is to see solitude not as punishment, but as sacred space. Most people fear being alone because they've never learned how to sit with their own thoughts. The second silence creeps in, they panic, rushing to fill the void with noise, scrolling on their phones, binging distractions, calling friends just to avoid being left with themselves. But here's the truth: within that discomfort lies your greatest treasure. Seneca, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, spent years in exile, stripped from the political world he once dominated. Instead of letting isolation crush him, he used it as fertile ground to grow wisdom that would shape humanity for centuries. He wrote, "Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end." Solitude, for Seneca, wasn't emptiness. It was a forge, a sacred space where wisdom, clarity, and strength could be hammered into being. When you sit in true silence, the noise of others' opinions fades. The pressure to perform dissolves. What remains is the raw truth of who you are beneath all the masks. Most people never reach this place, because they've built their entire identity around validation. But the Stoic warrior knows solitude is liberation. Start small. 5 minutes each morning, no phone, no distractions, just you and your thoughts. As you get comfortable, extend the time. Walk without music. Eat a meal in silence. Travel alone sometimes. You'll discover solitude isn't empty, it's full of possibility. Ideas are born there. Courage is cultivated there. Solitude isn't where you lose yourself. It's where you finally meet yourself. Drop this in the comments. In silence, I find my strength. Lesson 2. Your opinion of me is none of my business. The second Stoic lesson is brutal but freeing. What others think of you is irrelevant. Most people live as prisoners to opinions that don't even belong to them. They make choices based on what their parents might say, what their friends might think, or what strangers on the internet might judge. But here's the truth: their opinions are outside your control, and therefore irrelevant. Epictetus, born a slave yet becoming one of the most profound philosophers in history, taught, "We suffer not from events themselves, but from our judgments about those events." When someone criticizes you, they aren't damaging you. They're revealing their own fears, regrets, or limitations. Think about it: the person who mocks your ambition probably gave up on theirs. The family member who questions your path may be projecting the risks they were too afraid to take. Their judgment isn't about you, it's about them. The Stoic warrior develops what I call opinion immunity. This doesn't mean arrogance. It means distinguishing between feedback that helps you grow and background noise rooted in others' insecurities. Every time you're about to choose based on approval, pause. Ask, what would I do if no one was watching? What choice aligns with my values? That's the only compass you need. Start practicing small acts of authenticity. Wear what you love even if others don't get it. Share ideas that matter to you even if unpopular. Pursue hobbies that bring you joy even if they seem strange to others. Each act builds your freedom muscle. Remember, approval is a bottomless pit. No matter how much you get, it's never enough. The only opinion that matters is the one you hold when you look in the mirror. Drop this in the comments. I release the weight of others' opinions. Lesson 3. Control what you can, release what you can't. The third Stoic law is simple in theory but brutally hard in practice: focus only on what's within your control. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Most people exhaust themselves fighting battles they cannot win, trying to change other people, obsessing over outcomes, or stressing over circumstances beyond their reach. It's like standing in the rain, screaming at the clouds to stop pouring. You can't. But you can pick up an umbrella, find shelter, or even choose to dance in the storm. When you stop clinging to control over the uncontrollable, life becomes lighter. Epictetus taught his students to separate life into two categories: what is within my control, and what is not. Within your control, your effort, your mindset, your actions, your words. Outside your control, other people's behavior, the economy, the weather, the past. Freedom begins the moment you stop pouring energy into what you cannot change. Here's a practical application: whenever you feel anxious, grab a notebook and draw 2 columns. On the left, list everything worrying you. On the right, mark what's within your control. Cross out the rest. Then take one small step toward improving what's in your column. It's not weakness to let go, it's wisdom. The Stoic warrior doesn't waste life wrestling with the wind. They direct their strength only where it matters, and that is why they always prevail. Drop this in the comments: I control my mind, not the world. Lesson 4: Pain is your greatest teacher. Most of us run from pain like it's the enemy. We numb it with distractions, bury it under fake positivity, or avoid challenges that might hurt us. But the Stoics flipped this thinking completely. To them, pain wasn't a curse, it was a teacher. Seneca once said, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body." Just like a muscle grows through resistance, your character grows through struggle. Think about your own life. The moments that shaped you most weren't the easy ones. They were the heartbreaks, the failures, the losses, the setbacks. You didn't grow when life was comfortable, you grew when you were forced to rise from the ashes. The Stoic warrior doesn't ask, "Why me?" They ask, "What can this teach me?" A practical exercise: the next time you face hardship, write down 3 things it could be teaching you. Lost your job? Maybe it's teaching you resourcefulness. Facing heartbreak? Maybe it's teaching you how to love yourself. Battling illness? Maybe it's teaching you gratitude for the days you're healthy. Pain is never wasted unless you refuse to learn from it. Drop this in the comments: my pain builds my power. Lesson 5: Death is the ultimate motivator. The Stoics never shied away from death. In fact, they meditated on it daily. The practice, called memento mori, remember you will die, wasn't meant to depress them, but to sharpen their focus on what truly matters. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself, "You could leave life right now." Let that determine what you do and say and think. Why does this matter? Because most people live as if they'll live forever. They postpone dreams, delay forgiveness, and waste years in trivial pursuits. Death strips away illusions. Suddenly, arguments seem small, grudges meaningless, and excuses pathetic. If you knew you had 1 year left, you wouldn't waste time scrolling endlessly or complaining about things outside your control, you'd live deliberately. A practical exercise: each morning, remind yourself of your mortality. Say, "If today were my last, how would I live?" Use this not to create fear, but urgency. Death is not the end of life, it's the reason life has meaning. Drop this in the comments: memento mori, I will live fully today. Lesson 6: Discipline is destiny. While most people chase motivation, Stoics valued discipline. Motivation comes and goes like the weather, but discipline is a fortress. Epictetus declared, "No man is free who is not master of himself." To the Stoics, true freedom wasn't doing whatever you wanted, it was mastery over your impulses. Think of discipline as a muscle. Every time you resist temptation, every time you choose what's right over what's easy, you strengthen it. Discipline is why Marcus Aurelius could rule the largest empire in the world yet still rise before dawn to write in his journal. It's why soldiers, philosophers, and leaders across centuries turn to Stoicism as their anchor. A practical application: choose one small discipline to master each week. Wake up 30 minutes earlier. Journal daily. Practice gratitude. Train your body. Don't overcomplicate it. The point isn't to be perfect, it's to prove to yourself that your will is stronger than your impulses. Over time, these small acts compound into unshakable self-mastery. Drop this in the comments: discipline is my superpower. Lesson 7. The obstacle is the way. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This single line captures one of the most powerful Stoic principles: obstacles are not roadblocks, they are the road. When life throws challenges your way, the natural reaction is frustration. We curse our luck, resist the setback, and wish things were easier. But the Stoics flipped the script. They saw every obstacle as raw material for growth. Failure is a lesson. Pain is resilience training. Delay builds patience. Every obstacle becomes a forge in which character is shaped. Here's the application: the next time something goes wrong, traffic, rejection, failure, don't ask, "Why me?" Instead, ask, "How can I use this?" That shift alone transforms frustration into fuel. It's no longer life against you, it's life training you. Drop this in the comments: the obstacle is my teacher. Lesson 8. Control your inner dialogue. Epictetus reminded us, people are not disturbed by things, but by the views they take of them. That means the stories we tell ourselves, our inner dialogue, shape our reality more than the events themselves. Your mind is always talking, always interpreting. If you fail at something, your inner voice can say, "I'm worthless," or it can say, "This was feedback, now I know how to improve." Same event, different dialogue, completely different outcome. The Stoics understood that mastering this inner voice is the difference between despair and resilience. Practical exercise: pay attention to how you speak to yourself. Replace harsh criticism with constructive truth. Instead of "I can't handle this," say, "This is tough, but I'm tougher." Instead of "Everything is going wrong," say, "This is training for my patience and strength." This isn't blind positivity, it's mental discipline. Drop this in the comments: I control my inner voice. Lesson 9. Practice voluntary discomfort. Seneca often slept on the floor, wore rough clothing, and ate meager meals even though he was one of the wealthiest men in Rome. Why? because he believed that exposing yourself to discomfort strengthens the soul. He wrote, "Set aside a certain number of days, during which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare, saying to yourself the while, is this the condition I feared?" Modern life makes us soft. We crave comfort, avoid pain, and live in fear of losing what we have. Voluntary discomfort breaks that fear. When you train yourself to live simply, even briefly, you realize how little you actually need to thrive. Suddenly, losing material possessions doesn't terrify you anymore, because you've already rehearsed life without them. Start small, take cold showers, fast for a few hours, leave your phone behind for a day, or sleep on the floor once in a while. These practices aren't about punishment, they're about freedom. When you can endure discomfort willingly, you stop being a slave to comfort. Drop this in the comments: discomfort makes me stronger. Lesson 10, Premeditation of Adversity, Premeditatio Malorum. The Stoics prepared their minds for hardship before it arrived. This exercise, called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils, was practiced by both Seneca and Marcus Aurelius. They would imagine worst-case scenarios in vivid detail: loss of wealth, illness, betrayal, even death. Far from pessimism, this practice built resilience. Think of it this way: if you rehearse adversity in your mind, you're never blindsided. You've already seen it, faced it, and made peace with it in advance. So when difficulty comes, you greet it not with shock, but with calm recognition: I expected you. Here's a modern example: before giving a big presentation, imagine the projector breaking, your notes getting lost, or someone challenging you aggressively. Then mentally rehearse how you would respond with composure. This way, even if things do go wrong, you remain steady because you've already practiced it in your mind. Drop this in the comments: I am prepared for adversity. Lesson 11, Memento Mori, remember you will die. At first, this phrase may sound morbid. But for the Stoics, Memento Mori wasn't about despair, it was about urgency. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily that life is short and fragile. By contemplating death, he found clarity in how to live. Think about it: how often do we waste time scrolling endlessly, arguing over trivial matters, or postponing our dreams for someday? Remembering that our time is finite snaps us back into focus. Every sunrise, every conversation, every chance to love and create becomes precious when we accept that it won't last forever. You don't have to wear a skull ring like the ancient Romans did, but you can build reminders into your day. Keep a quote on your desk, journal about mortality in the morning, or simply pause to ask, if today were my last, would I be proud of how I'm spending it? This isn't meant to paralyze you with fear, it's meant to energize you with purpose. Drop this in the comments: I will live fully, for life is short. Lesson 12, Live according to nature. The Stoics believed the ultimate goal was to live in harmony with nature, not just the natural world, but human nature itself. Epictetus taught that we are rational beings, designed to use reason to guide our actions and contribute to the greater whole. When we align with this truth, life feels meaningful and balanced. Living according to nature means accepting change, because change is nature's law. Seasons shift, bodies age, fortunes rise and fall. Resisting this only brings suffering. It also means fulfilling your role as a human, to think clearly, act with justice, and live in service of others. As Marcus Aurelius put it, what is not good for the hive, cannot be good for the bee. In today's world, this could mean unplugging from the artificial chaos of constant noise and reconnecting with simplicity, spending time outdoors, nurturing relationships, and working with integrity. When your life reflects the order of nature, peace naturally follows. Drop this in the comments. I live in harmony with nature. Conclusion: the Stoic path to strength. So, we've walked through 12 timeless Stoic lessons, each one a tool for building an unshakable mind. From mastering your emotions and choosing your response, to embracing discomfort, preparing for adversity, and remembering the brevity of life, the Stoics give us a blueprint for resilience in a chaotic world. But here's the most important takeaway: Stoicism isn't